leadership principles that have served me, right? And I want to talk about how this actually came up to be. And this happened a little over 2 years ago, right? So Jay Curry left, and this is a friend of mine. But the way it happened is I was going to one of my friends, and I was basically telling him how upset I was that my team was not performing the way they wanted. They were just simply, like I said, clocking in, clocking out. They just weren't giving their fullest potential. They weren't maximizing the effort that they could have, right? And it really upset me because a lot of opportunities went through the cracks, and we weren't growing as fast as we should, which really upset me. So I went to him. I was like, hey man, I think we got something that's either a marketing issue or a sales team issue. So he's audited my processes already, and he said, hey dude, that's not your problem. I'm like, well shit, what the fuck is the problem then? So he actually made me pull up a recording of my sales huddle because we were doing it over Zoom. If you have an in-person office, that's also good as well. Obviously, it's harder to record those. But for us, we were doing it over Zoom, and I sent him the Fathom link or the recording link. He watched it. He's like, dude, we found the problem. You're a shitty leader. I was like, well, thanks for telling me. How do I fix it? So this is pretty much the start of every single lesson that you see here. And things that he told me and things that I have learned in the process of being a better leader for the team. So one of the first ones is understand why your team or why someone should work for you. This goes back to the recruiting offer or the recruiting playbook, right? Why should somebody work for you besides the money and taking care of their families, right? So if you actually have to understand why somebody works for you, it helps out a lot, right? Because somebody could be working for you because they genuinely want to join you on your mission, right? Whatever that is. If somebody else doesn't really have a good reason or why they should work with you so transparently, you don't deserve quality talent. I will be the first to tell you. Because if you have good people or if you have a good company and people want to work for you, they will come banging down your door asking to work for you. If you've seen that thing in Wolf of Wall Street, you know exactly what I'm talking about, right? Next, your team doesn't work for you, you work for them. Your team does not work for you, you work for them. Your employees, they do not work for you, you work for them, right? And this is something I also learned from Jared that I value a lot because we go into business and we think that just because we have employees, we get to boss people around and tell them what to do all day. But to me, and from my experience, it's actually the other way around. You work for your team, right? You're supposed to be there as a leader. You are there for your team and you support them, you coach them, you give them the necessary resources to grow and win, right? Because if they win, they grow, they make a lot of money. Guess who else makes a lot of money? You do. So put them first. That's what a good leader does in my personal experience, right? Next is dictatorship. I actually have a funny story about this, and you literally see me say it right here. SATX client without being a dictator. So story behind this is because we had a client in San Antonio, Texas, as you can see, and I visited their office. They had $20,000 a month, just overhead office, shit like that. It was, oh my God, I could not have that. I would not want that. And I would see him talk to his team, run the sales huddles, talk to his team on one-on-one privately. And you could just see how much the team hates being there, how much they hate working for him. And they're there just for the paycheck. For me personally, and for our clients, that is not a culture that we want to build, right? So this client was yelling at his team, being passive aggressive when talking to him. He's basically being an asshole is the best way to put it. And he would do things like hold their pay hostage and disrespect them. And to me, I was embarrassed to be his client and nobody even knew. So that right there is one of the reasons why I stopped working with him, because I just couldn't do that. But that's the topic for another day. So the biggest takeaway for you is try to build a team culture that puts praise over punishment, right? Praise your team for doing the right thing more than yelling at them for doing the wrong thing. Pays over punishment. So a perfect example is whenever you're running a call review, instead of sitting there yelling at them about 20 different things they could have done or they could have done better, tell them the 5 things that they did well and to do more of, right? Flip from a negative to a positive. Do it in everything you do. It's simple, but it sounds like common sense. But like I say in all my videos, common sense is not so common, unfortunately. So yeah, build a company that puts praise and lifts the spirits of your team up over trying to punish them and beat them down. Because at the end of the day, if they feel beat down every day, they're going to hate their job. And guess who loses? You do, because you're the one who has to put them on payroll, right? Next, leadership with an aligned mission and vision results in a high output team. This is what I've noticed with every single team that I've had within our company and our clients, right? When there's a proper leadership who's building the people, investing in your team, because Dan Martell has this quote that I love where it's, if you build the people will build the business, right? So if you invest in your team, you're a good leader, you put praise over punishment, you lift the spirits up, everybody loves you while still being productive, right? Because if you're just a nice guy, you're definitely not going to get shit done either. So there's a level of that. You have to be a stern leader at times, and at other times, you just have to be a genuine human being and be there for your team, right? Build the people will build the business. And if you have that, right, you teach your team the necessary skills to make them money and you money, you will grow, and that leads to a high output team, which produces results. It sounds simple, but it's not easy. It's simple, not easy, right? I tell you these as principles that I have learned, right? You still have to fail. You still have to make mistakes to grow within your company. Next, leadership is simply selling your team to do something and making them aware of how that action item can benefit not only their personal, but the professional goals as well. What I've noticed about business is everything is sales, right? If somebody wants to sell me to hop on their podcast, why should I? The first question is, why should you, right? Because that's how your team looks at it. Because if you hear them say things like, oh, that's out of my pay grade, or I don't want to clean the dishes because why should I? This is why. You have to sell them on why they should do it. Not selling the dishes and not cleaning the dishes, but you get the point, right? Like update your KPIs as an example. And now that's your daily reminder. If you didn't put in your KPIs, now's a good time to do it, right? After this video. Leadership, like I said, so you're selling your team on doing things to help them hit their personal goals. For example, if they don't make the necessary amount of dials, they're probably not going to hit their goal earnings or desired goal income-wise, and they are not going to be able to buy that house, buy that car. So you're just selling them on it, right? It's simple. That's the easiest way I break it down. And one of the last ones is, or the fourth last one is, do you really understand the purpose of core values and a mission statement? Is that something you really understand, or is that something you just say and it just goes out the other day? It's almost like prayer, but I'm not going to get religious in this video. What does that actually mean to you? What do those core values mean to you? But the better litmus test is, what do those core values mean to your team? Ask them what those core values mean to them and how that impacts their daily work. Their answers will tell you whether or not that team and that culture is good or not. At least that's what I do to check with our team, with our clients. Next, to build an amazing team, you need amazing people. But the $1 million question is, how do you find them? Christian Guzman lesson. On the left here, that's Christian Guzman. If you don't know him, he runs a company called Alfleet. Alfleet is like Gymshark. They sell gym clothes. Christian Guzman, at the time that I spoke with him when I got this lesson, he did $100 million a year in revenue with a team of 20 people. That basically means each one of his team members, his revenue per employee is $5 million per year, which is $400,000 per month per employee. And let's just say he made it every single one of his employees like half millionaires, right? He's getting a 10x return on his team, which is absolutely insane. If you've never heard of that KPI before, it's a KPI that we track, right? Return on CS, return on acquisitions team, return on marketing, things like that, right? I asked them, okay, well, if each of your team members' if your revenue per employee at your team is $5 million a year or $400,000 per month each, how the hell do you find these people? Like, where the hell, like how, right? And he told me this quote that I have never forgotten to this day. It's, build a vision and a company with such big ambitions that other people can fit their goals inside of yours. Meaning, If they hit their goals, if your team members hit their personal goals, you will hit your goals. And that to me hit me. It's like, how can you find an opportunity so big? Because high-level people want high-level opportunities. And if you can provide that opportunity, they will eventually come to you. What I've noticed is hire entrepreneurs, not entrepreneurs. And we're not going to dive into that. But long story short, it basically means people that have tried to run a business themselves in the past, but may have not have made it, or they may have sold their company and now they're just, looking to retire, looking to chill out. Don't hire failed business owners. This is not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying. Hire people that have done something successful in business in another industry and bringing them into this and help them grow. So that is the lesson that I learned from Christian Guzman. And on the right, that's yours truly. That's me at his gym, right? He runs one of the biggest gyms. It's called Alphaland. Anyways, next, second last is pour into your team. They should be viewed as partners, not minions. The first 4 words here, pour into your team. This is very similar to Dan Martell's quote of build the people and the people built the business, right? That's basically what that quote means. And the way you should look at your team is that they are partners in helping your company grow. They are not your little minions, unless you have VAs. Anyways, I'm just joking. Do not get offended, please. Don't cancel me yet. Anyways, when it comes to your acquisition managers, your sales managers, they should be viewed as your partners, right? And if you really want to put money to that, give them equity, right? But give them equity not because I said so, but because you want to retain them. That's why most people do equity, right? Your team are not your minions. Don't be a dictator. You're not Guru, the fucking dude with the long nose and the suit jacket. You're not him. I don't know minions. I've never watched it. You guys get the point. I'm not going to make this difficult. Lastly, implement team feedback surveys. What the hell is a feedback survey? Why the hell are you running so many feedback surveys, Ben? I'll tell you. Typeform is a great investment. I don't have an affiliate, but I have a few questions here. And the way I do this is it's actually anonymous, right? So in the form, as you can see, there's no question here where it asks for their name of your team. And the way I do this is I send this to my team anonymously throughout the month. So I send it in the Slack channel or mass text it out to the team. I'm like, hey guys, please fill out the survey, trying to get better, right? We want to get some feedback. This is great for leadership. And this is something that I've noticed that has helped a lot. One of the first questions I ask is, what should Ben do to become a better leader, a CEO, and a business owner, right? I just want to get their open opinion. It's not multiple choice. It's an open, I just want my team to speak their thoughts anonymously. And to me, it has helped a lot. What do you like most about working here, right? What do they like? They like X, Y, and Z. Awesome. What do they hate most about working here, right? So you get to see, they hate this person, they hate that. Like you'll see sometimes where they'll hate one specific person. And you might go to them and be like, hey man, how do you think things are going? How do you think the team is treating you? Oh, they treat you like shit. What do you think that is, right? What is their ultimate goal here? Do they want to become a sales manager? Do they want to become a COO? Do they want to be a CEO? What does that look like, right? Would they ever consider leaving the company? If so, why? This is the question, transparently, that I pay attention to the most, because one of the most costly things in any business is team churn, right? It costs a lot of money to recruit, onboard, train, and ramp your team. So I want to minimize team turnover, churn, as much as possible. And this is how I do that. Any additional comments, thoughts, and feedback? Open journal, say whatever you want, right? So that's that. The next thing I want to talk about is meetings. Here's how I look at them. I've seen a lot of companies, and I used to have this mistake. Meetings should have a purpose. If you're just meeting to sync, you're wasting time. That's what corporate salespeople do, and that's why they don't care about making money, because they get $200K base salaries. Anyways, it's funny because I have a client who is in tech sales, and that's what he told me. Anyways, meetings have two purposes. The first one is to solve a problem and a constraint. If you hop on a meeting and the first question you should ask is, what problem are we trying to solve? If there's no problem, probably shouldn't have a meeting. Or alignment on the goal and the North Star, right? Consistently emphasize to the team what the goal is and how that's going to benefit them. If you're not doing any of that, it's a circle jerk session, right? Huddles are not meetings. Huddles are huddles, right? You're huddling with the team to get better. At least I don't look at it as a huddle. A huddle or a meeting is like when everybody's on the team and you see one guy that's playing on his phone, another guy that is half asleep. To me, a meeting is like a company-wide meeting, if that makes sense. So I should probably emphasize, say, company wide meetings, right? And the final thing that I actually want to talk about is mission and vision. And this is a perfect example that I like to share with my team. By team, I mean my editor, my creative director watching this. So Aaron already knows, but everybody should have a why, right? I know people that have their own whys, like, hey, they got bullied when they were a teen. They want to be successful now, take care of their kids, take care of their family, yada, 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 right? Everybody should have a why. For me, I have my own why. These 6, I blurted out for for obvious reasons. But the big thing I want to highlight is number 7 right here, right? And this is pretty much why I created content. I actually want to read this to you. Create content for the struggling kid who wants something better for himself. The kid who worries about being homeless. The kid whose parents are fighting every night about bills. For the kid who's seen as an outcast in school. For the kid who is lonely every night and tries to fit in. For the kid whose parents don't believe him or support him. For the kid who knows he's going to be somebody and just needs the right opportunity. Do it for that kid. Do it for that kid who was in your shoes. Do it for the 12-year-old Ben. Now, this is my example. Have your own example. This is me. You can't copy. I mean, you can copy it. It's probably not going to resonate, but this is what works for me. And when you share that with your team, they can see why you're bought into it. And you have to truly mean it. And it has to be the truth because your team is not stupid. And if you treat them that way, they're not going to be with you for so long, right? So with that said, that's all I have for this video. It is 11:30 p.m. and nothing fills me more than creating content that delivers real value, talks about the shit that nobody else talks about, true business education that scales wholesalers, makes you a fuck ton of money, and you can thank me one day if we ever meet, right? So that's all I have for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got a lot of notes and value out of it that you're going to implement to your business. And with that said, my name is Benjamin, CEO and founder here at Bolt Deals, and I hope you have a great rest of your night, and I will see you in the next video. Have a great day. Bye-bye.